video, 1X, record. So you got that fancy 5X, because I get the, I have the 9 regular.
What?
My phone.
Yes.
Does not have the telephoto lens.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that sad?
I don't know. Let me see.
I imagine it is.
I mean,
having more capabilities is better.
yeah. Oh, is it sad for you?
Oh yeah, it's not sad for you at all.
No, it's not at all.
Nice,
it's pretty
thanks.
indifferent. Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies. I'm Rob Fulmer, the Director of Government and Community Affairs for the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Executive Director Andrew Bauman. Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier.
Hey Rob.
Andrew Bauman.
Cheers.
I'm drinking a Ruby Red Grapefruit Pale Ale from
Yeah.
Huss Brewing Company. It's got a, looks like a whippet on there.
Yeah.
Some sort of greyhound.
Greyhound, yeah.
Oh, is that a reference to the cocktail? The greyhound?
Oh, grapefruit.
Yeah.
See how clever they are? It only took us
know.
like 3 seconds
I
to
should have
figure
put
it out.
I should have put it in a rocks glass.
We're not super smart, but we
I wonder
do
if it
get
looks
along.
like yeah, you know. So, first, and this is on the record, for some reason I had all the episode last week with Camila. I had it all loaded up days in advance and it was all queued up. And for some reason the video
Oh yeah.
published, but the podcast did not. So,
And we were having such a hassle trying to get the video to, whatever it's called, compile.
yeah.
And that worked,
Yeah.
but then the audio didn't go.
Well, I had it in, Libsyn, all queued up, all the pictures, all the description, and it just kind of disappeared. I thought I hit publish now or publish at this time, so maybe maybe next year it'll publish on this date or something.
Ooh, how exciting.
Anyway, it's loaded, so people are going to get 2, I guess, if they were expecting 2, they're going to get 2 this week.
Hey,
Maybe I'll delay this one. Maybe I'll do it mid-Thursday. We do have to record on the road next week
I know.
from Indianapolis.
So exciting.
And
We have to schedule that.
Yeah,
or
I
it
know,
won't get
I
done. We have to put it on the calendar.
I know, but that's why I'm trying this other setup. It's more minimal. We do have the big board as a backup. We have this as a backup. These backup, lots of backups. But these are slightly better for louder environments, believe it or not. You can
Right.
change the gain on it and
It's amazing. These gardening YouTubers that I watch, one of them uses these,
Yeah.
and he is perfectly clear no matter how. You can see the wind going crazy.
Right.
You can, like, he's outside, his dog's running around, all
Right.
you hear is his voice. It's pretty cool.
Right. Speaking of dogs, I don't
Oh.
know if the it's not an official dog of
Right.
the podcast or this household.
You're fostering,
We found a stray. Her name is Nugget. We
and
call her
you
Nugget.
recorded her with a rescue agency, but she is staying here. No?
I don't know.
You're just emotionally fostering?
We have to do something this week because, well, we'll see. But I'm gonna say now, definitively, she's been abandoned because had a collar, no tags, no chip, was clearly pregnant. So I think they just took the puppies and
Dumped mama.
yeah. So she's been done lactating for a couple weeks now. So it takes a while for those to sort of go down, but
Go return to original
Right.
factor.
yes. But she's got a good personality. She's a little afraid of Andrew here, I think, and she was barking.
New things,
Yeah.
new things. Also, I just walked in the door and you didn't open it. So perhaps she's like, wait a second.
She can be very guarded. Like I think that's the maternal instinct. She's very attached to my sister-in-law, and therein lied the problem. because,
Which one?
Danelle.
Okay.
And so I think that might have been the problem. Although I think after this week we worked it out. There was a little jealousy going on between Hazel and I don't know. Yeah. So we'll see.
The dog has a name.
Nugget.
Okay.
I mean,
so
it had about 17 names until 2 days ago because we were just
right.
throwing stuff out there.
well, I was petting Hazel,
Yeah.
and she didn't want anything to do with it. So I think you mentioned that jealousy the other day. Maybe she's gotten over it. Now she has a toy. She gets to chew on.
Right.
It's cute.
That's the other thing. So far, there hasn't been a fight over that one bone, and I'll tell you, that bone could sit there and fuck off for like 2 years as long as another dog doesn't touch it, and then Hazel's interested in it.
Of course.
Yeah.
And Nugget appears to be about, what, 50 pounds?
Yeah. She's a
50-pound pit bull?
like a mini pit bull or something like that. I guess it's a desirable breed because it's very squat.
I think she's just a regular pit bull.
She's
I mean,
super
she's
short.
not big like a giant male, but she's
Nah,
like
she's kind of too low to the ground, I think.
okay.
I don't
all
know.
Anyway, she's cute as all get out.
Yeah. So
I love her.
her head is about the size of a Chicago regulation softball, which is bigger than a. It's the kind that you play in Chicago only without a glove. I don't know. They're very strange there. Summer League Chicago softball.
All right.
So yeah, that's the official.
That's the exciting news at the
ranch.
at the White House.
It is White House. It might change colors over the summer. I don't know.
Okay.
We're doing some remodeling. No, I think it looks.
It was the White House when you were the president of the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild.
No,
Of the Arizona
Bash.
Society of Homebrewers.
yes.
Yes, that's when it got
I
the
moved in
name
and
the
it
White
was,
House.
It was white, and so I called it the Beer White House because it had beer. It was white. It was a house.
All these things are true.
I'm gonna have a drink.
Hey, great. So last week was just filled with media.
Yeah.
It was the meeting with the governor and
Congressman Stanton.
and Representative Stanton. Yeah. Man, I like that guy.
Yeah. Turns out some people don't, though. You know that.
Of course. Well,
And we heard from some of those people if you followed any of his posts, but we can get into that a little later.
well, that is the nature of politics.
Yes.
And it was a very significant media event, more than a,
Yeah, nothing got solved.
well, I mean, things aren't ever going to get solved in that environment.
No, but it does tell me that you know, even with some blowback, and it's mostly just online, uninformed people from all over the place just weighing in because they don't like the Democrats or they don't like him in particular or the governor or what have you. And so there was a lot of comments. There wasn't a lot. The comments that were negative were just kind of uninformed, and to the point where there was somebody who just went on a long tirade about all the things that a business could do to avoid these tariffs, and like in this case,
Oh, yes, I saw that.
it's like you should serve food and diversify and serve other alcoholic products. You know, not understanding that particular business does do that, and also they are a brewery, so like
Right.
they do have to also produce beer, and you lose your credibility if you start selling more spirits than alcohol. By the way, those are tariffed too.
Of course. Yeah.
So I don't know. She can get in the shot.
I mean,
or not.
glass is produced, there's a lot of glass that comes from China and Europe.
Okay, this is Nugget, and you're just gonna get her backside because I don't
Yeah.
think I have the ability to crane her around.
I wouldn't do that today, maybe in a month.
Yeah. So this is Nugget. Okay, Nugget.
So we had that. Other,
I'm just saying,
Interview-
like they said
Yeah.
all those things, and you know, also like, you know, people would drop in like, well, maybe they should go back to bottles. I'm like, that is a potentially
Yes.
$100,000,
Just snap your fingers.
$60,000 proposition, plus training and downtime, and also your distributor is going to say, that's great, never do that again because we're not moving any of that stuff.
and grocery stores do not
They don't have
set
the
their
ability
shelves
to.
for bottles.
No, that bottles are never
Just
coming
not
back.
a thing. I mean, people can't understand the nuances of an industry that is so far-reaching, and
Sure. So warts and all.
there's
on
ideas,
those-
but I mean, you always have to consider the ideas. Like someone that is not in the industry brings fresh ideas
Right.
to your business, and that is the truth. When I started homebrewing, people were like, "You can't do that." I'm like, "Well, I just did it. You drank it, and it was good. Why can't you do it?" So
So every once in a while, you have to break the seal and take some heat because it's going to give us the opportunity to inform, and then it gives us other opportunities to say other things. So again, we had this press conference. There were talking points, and I told our members who volunteered to show up for that, this is going to be their side of the thing, and we have an opportunity to interject. Now, people aren't used to that format. The hour, which is really 35 minutes nominally, goes very quickly. They like to load 15 people at a round table because of the optics, and it looks like all the brewers are there, and they're
on your side.
if you don't interject in some way or bring up other points of the things that are possible, then it looks like you're just sitting there for a photo op and a press conference, which it can turn into. But we were prepared. We had some answers that I think led to other things, and what I challenged our members to do is to hit me with follow-ups, because at least one of us is going. Are we going to? Are you going to the governor's conference on travel, or one of us is going to DC to follow up?
I'm not going to DC.
Okay, so one of me is going to DC to follow up on this. You will be
I'm
at
possibly going to the governor's conference on tourism.
right. Well, that's one of our asks, is to be more involved with that.
Yeah.
So we need to follow up on that. So there will be other dialogue, especially if we're getting some feedback from members. And we had some good people on that panel, and so they will be more motivated to give us that instruction. We didn't get a chance for everyone to talk, but that's just how it goes. I think I put out a pretty good warning on that. Like, you got to jump in or you got to interject. That's why it's important to know the kinds of questions they're going to ask and have answers ready for them. So, and after it was over, people stuck around. There was some talk with reporters. I know that there was one-on-one talks between some of our brewers, and we had Channel 12, Channel 10,
Arizona Family
Arizona
is 3
Family.
and 5.
on the TV, and we had the New Times and
Telemundo.
oh yeah, Telemundo. We had the New Times and Arizona Republic and the print side, and then we had KTAR and
KJZZ.
KJZZ.
And we had the Associated Press.
Yeah. Yes. You have a call. Is that
Who would be
important?
calling me? A number I don't know.
Oh,
They're going to have to wait.
yeah.
So,
So that was the thing that led to some more media, which is exactly
Right.
what we want.
and then I had a chance to talk to Dennis Welch from AZ Family on their longer format podcast.
Yeah. You had a
And that
good
was Friday.
20 minutes on there.
It was solid. I actually listened to it, which is so weird.
You did a great job.
It was okay. I was happy with it. I mean, certainly there were a few things I would, whatever.
It goes by quick.
It was
it's
good.
tough, and he was super interested, and I know I talked to him about a few things beforehand, so he hit those points.
Mm-hmm.
You hit your points, and I think if you saw the press conference, you heard, "Hey, tariffs are bad," and why not? It's like if
Tariffs are just a tax on American consumers.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
and
period.
and it's been, for a certain segment, it's like, oh, they're now like being tried to be recast as something that the other country pays to balance trade. And if that's true, then we should have been we should be funding more local maltsters to alleviate that. We should they've had 10 years easily to decrease dependence on aluminum and stainless steel. None of those things have happened through two different administrations.
It's just not worth it.
So,
it just
no.
costs too much in CapEx.
No. So, if the message is that's going to help America, well, it's going to raise costs of goods, whether there are costs of goods or anyone else, If we're just talking about those three things, any other beer producer. And so you're just saying, I'm going to pay more. And somehow that makes it patriotic, or that somehow fixes something that there is no, that money isn't going towards any of those fixes. And businesses clearly haven't said, you know what, I think this is going to happen, so I'm going to double down and invest on things. Just doesn't happen. There was a thing going around about how, some automakers have agreed to build more plants here. Like, yeah, they're going to say, yeah, we'll do that. 10
Like
years
Foxconn?
Later, 10 years later, it's not going to happen.
Foxconn was going to build a nice big plant in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
And that was during 45. And yeah, nothing. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, but you said, hey, let's focus on the restaurants, because we just came hot off a tomato tariff, potentially. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, I saw some comments, they're still being negotiated, and that doesn't stop business owners who have a limited inventory, and they want to make sure that they're not going to, one, run out of product at too low of a price, and two, they want to make sure that they're maximizing their profit, because who knows when their inputs are going to be tariffed even more. Or it's going to cost them so much that they can't afford to operate the level they're going to operate at. So yes, immediately, as one of our panelists from Walter Station, Jim Erickson, said, like, he got higher prices on the initial discussion about that they were going to do these, and then he got hit with another price increase after they had been formalized. So he got hit twice from a lid manufacturer. So yes, those things happen.
One of our can suppliers go ahead and up their prices immediately. They raised their prices to us, said that their aluminum costs were going up, so they were passing them on to us. Tariffs haven't happened, so just on the speculation alone, we saw it happen. Then fast forward a month or two, whatever it's been, and when the tariffs go into effect, then we get a supplemental increase again. So that did happen. I mean, that's actually in real time that's happening to us.
If people didn't listen to the administration about signaling about what the economy is going to do, then nobody would have made money on the stock market or lost money on the stock market. That's a whole nother story. Like, people listen to the Fed, people listen to, at this point, the
Corporate
tariff talks.
Corporate
right.
Earnings reports.
Yeah, that's how people make intelligent decisions. And most people aren't really capable of making those decisions 4, 5, 8 times a week.
Right.
to make adjustments. And it's not possible in some cases. You just can't, we have some stocks that we have to follow a trade window. Limited amount of time that you can change. So, anyway.
All right.
But in your discussion with Dennis, I think it's fair now to say there are some things that encourage growth in our industry, new entrants to the market, and there are things that discourage. Clearly, a tariff is something that will discourage. Overall, it won't encourage anyone to get in.
Right.
To the brewing industry. There are other factors. Minimum wage and discrepancies of people's minimum wage across cities. That is disruptive.
Across cities, states.
Yeah.
Like, they're still paying $2.13 an hour for servers in some states.
Right.
Here we're talking, what is it, $13.10 in the whole state, and then
like $16 in Flagstaff.
in Flagstaff, it's like, I think
So
it's
those
15.
and access to housing. So in a heavily saturated Airbnb market like Sedona, that is going to influence your bottom line, because you're going to pay more for labor, and you're not necessarily going to get the best hires. You're going to get people who
look at the scene and say, that's where I can get my higher wage, even though if I don't give it.
Yeah.
Because they need somebody.
Right. So you get people who are living in their cars.
Well, also, there's nowhere to live up there.
Right,
So
that's
if
what
they
I'm
want
saying, yeah.
someone to work, they have to live in their car.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. So I'm super envious you were on Dennis's show.
And welcome back to another edition of the Politics Unplugged podcast. And today, talking about a couple of my favorite topics in the whole world. That's politics and beer. And here to help me navigate all of that is Andrew Bauman. He's the executive director of the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. Andrew, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, Dennis, thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, did you ever think, being a beer would lead you to politics?
It's always been interesting to me since I started brewing. I want to be part of the guild, and our main mission is to promote and protect Arizona beer. So it's always been legislative.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Because this is kind of timely because the Arizona Agenda listed a bunch of media people that, as their awards. I don't think they'd listed people in different segments, and one of them. If you're asking me, and I'll say this. You read the agenda. If you want to be up on things in Arizona, read the agenda. It's not an expensive subscription. Listen to KJZZ, the show. You get an hour, and at least on Fridays, the first 20 minutes is political. So, and it's entertaining. You don't have to be a policy wonk to follow along.
Right.
But you'll get culture and you'll get other things from that show. And Lauren Gelger was on there. And then also, he has a TV show, a Sunday TV show. So you can either split your time between Dennis Welch on TV and or Bram Resnick. Mm-hmm. Or you can listen to the podcast. And the podcast
We get the Bram Resnick at my house.
you get to hear from other lobbyists. And they do kind of a left and right thing. They will do special segments on anything coming up. And that's how you got on. And the first 20 minutes, depending, if there's one guest, it's about 20 minutes. And then the rest goes into politics that aren't covered in the show, what's going on nationally. And then if you follow the Suns or you follow
The Suns,
Diamondbacks,
yeah.
and then they get into music a little bit. And that's where I'm like, oh man, I have opinions on
This
their
is the
opinions.
one. And then, what is the other? Oh, Copper Courier. Mm-hmm. That's another great newsletter to sign up for.
There are trade stuff things that we have. Like, I used to get Beer Business Daily. I just find it a little bit too expensive for me right now. Fingers, which is Dave Infante. Let's get a little more perspective on other parts of the country, especially when it comes to labor. He's a labor union person, and that does drive a lot of, especially now with trucking and these tariffs and the impact of that. He was the one that broke the scoop on Anchor shutting down and then the new buyer. So you get some early news from him. Beer
Crunchers.
Beer Crunchers. I haven't subscribed to it.
I haven't either. But
I catch it once in a while.
I think now it's mandatory. He is departing from Revolution.
Oh, okay.
And this is going to be a more business income focused, rather than just his review of the industry for his own purposes, sharing with the world.
Right. Yeah, and it goes into depth. He will actually sometimes invite a guest to argue another point.
Right.
And sometimes he'll just pick a side when it's not clear if a trend is really happening or not. Those are the kinds of things he gets into. And he's an accountant by trade, so he'll throw up graphs. He'll use satisfaction curves. He'll use innovation curves, which are pretty well established as a metric in some of those soft science fields. Economics, obviously. You get some good content from Birvana on styles. Right now, he was talking about, he got blown up because he 2 years ago predicted that sour IPAs were going to be a thing, which I enjoy those. They just don't see enough of them. But what was he talking about? Like hoppy lagers, but like West Coast lagers. I don't know. I used to not see the difference, but now I kind of do. It's more of a.
I mean, for me, it's when you just use straight Pilsner malt as your base.
Yeah.
Then I can tell, like, okay, that's a hoppy lager, because it's just straight Pilsner malt and it has a specific.
I think there's
compared to pale malt.
There's a mouthfeel and a viscosity heaviness and a lot of the ale yeast stuff is toned down lately. Although that's what I really like about English styles is getting that super yeasty beer. Who else on the industry side? Brewbound, but you can listen to their podcast too.
Beverage industry newsletters often has some great stuff on beer.
Right. But you got some other press opportunities out of this besides the...
Oh yeah, I talked to Jessica from Axios.
Yeah.
We had a long conversation, like half an hour.
Right.
It's crazy.
That's not a bad newsletter either because it gives you the highlights and you can dive in.
It was a short article. The article was like 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that more of that is going to come out across other articles because, like I said, it was long.
Right, right. And you talked to somebody from the BBC, but that's not something that we're going to have a voice in, but you made some recommendations.
Yeah, BBC reached out. They were coming to Phoenix to visit breweries and talk tariffs. And I connected them with some people here in town. They were here Sunday and Monday. And that's what's up.
Tough to call you away on that one. Easter Sunday and Easter Monday.
Oh, I don't care.
Well, no, I'm just saying like it's not like you met up with them, right?
I did not.
Yeah.
No.
But if
I offered, but
Yeah.
they just wanted to really talk to a couple of brewery owners, get some pictures and video at breweries. They didn't
justify the trip.
Yeah.
So that's Ollie Smith, Ollie, and there's an Olly Smith who I want to say 6 years ago came out here.
He is their wine guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did a sort of a light travelogue food and beverage show.
Sure.
He came out to Arizona breweries, and I remember having to take calls in advance of that at very odd times, and
Yeah.
they didn't have a perception how far things were from each other, even though on the map. And I just said, well, if you go north, you might run into a forest fire that literally closes the highway down, so just be aware. And I said, if you go south, and this was in the monsoon time, like same thing, except with dust.
Dust instead. Perfect.
I said, yeah, but other than that, you're fine. They did. I think they did Wilderness. I think they talked to the Sinagua guys during that trip. Yeah. So, but they both work for BBC TV, but in different capacities.
I guess Ollie is a common name.
Yeah. Well, it was Oliver, but he's known as Ollie, and then he had to put
Maybe
IE.
apparently Oliver's a common name. It's not here.
So anything else come up as a result of that one? By the way, this was all set up by Stanton's office, and
The Tuesday.
they did a pitch to us, their outreach office, and there were several things that were very impressive in terms of like understanding like layouts of breweries, and they limited it to a few, and they asked me what my thoughts were. And so we narrowed it down to 100 Mile. And then they had a bunch of brewery information. A lot of it was old, wrong, but still on the internet. So we had to course correct on that.
I'm just going through right now our member information because we're going to start sending text message communication
Right.
to our members instead of just emails. And man, getting all those phone numbers together is fun. But also, you look at the list that we have, and we're like, oh yeah, not that. Oh yeah, not that. Not that. Not that.
Yeah,
Things change.
They do, and it's definitely the case that some people have come and gone. But it's also the case that some people have moved on to other other parts of the industry, or just aren't the guy anymore at that particular brewery.
Right.
So yeah, I was going to at our meeting say, well, if you had some discretionary money, a membership management system isn't a bad idea.
We don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do. $60 a month is.
We got a few things going. So.
Yeah.
Hey, I think it's time for us to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about your trip and our upcoming trip. How about that?
Okay.
Cool. we're back.
We are back.
Hi, Rob.
Hi. I forgot about my trip.
Yeah, so tell me about your trip, because I'm still not super clear what happened.
I'm not either, because it was, it wasn't the, turn and burn kind of thing. It was try to enjoy it, but my parents have a car that they wanted to get to Wisconsin so that the grandkids could have a car. So it's a 2017 Malibu with low miles. Go figure. So my brother flew out and we drove back together. And it was loaded with things from the house that I don't even know if he wanted. I just kind of winged stuff in the
They're not in your house. They're not in your house now.
Right. Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and so it was just he and I and a duffel bag full to live out of for each of us. And so it's from Phoenix to Milwaukee, which is about 1,600 miles, give or take, depending on which direction you go. So he flew out, we spent a few days here, and then
He got to see the governor and Representative Stanton.
that's right, he brought my mom to the press conference.
That was kind of cute.
The last time my mom was there was in one of these things was when we signed SB 1030 about 10 years ago. So that was a little bookend on that. And she wanted to say something to the governor, and my brother denied her because she was afraid that she was going to say something Republican. But my mom doesn't really have a grasp on politics too much, other than. Yeah. Anyway.
Right. So on your journey.
Yeah. So you can do that in 2 days. You can do that in 3 days. You can do that in 4 days. We decided on 3, and we got a late start, so we could only really go as far as Albuquerque without. Maybe you could stretch to. It's like at 6 hours. Maybe you could stretch to, and you end up in the very weird panhandle-y. Hat of Texas, Panhandle, Oklahoma.
Amarillo.
Yeah, then you're going a little further south, even if it costs you.
I don't
45
think
minutes.
Amarillo has a brewery.
No, it does.
Does?
Well, they have craft beer. Now, Dallart does not. That's the county seat, by the way, of whatever godforsaken part of it.
Oh, there's like 100 counties in Texas.
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyway.
And they're all like this big.
You can go to Tucumcari, which is a Route 66 town, but then you're staying in a Motel 6.5 or 8 3/4 or whatever. I don't know. There's not a, if I'm going to do this, I want some points.
All right, there you
Some
go.
hotel points,
Sure.
right? So we went to Albuquerque. We actually was texting Abby, the ED from New Mexico, and she could not join us, but I asked her about some places to eat, and she gave me a range of high end and then, other places that she frequents just because they're close to things. And we tried to go to the pizza place, but on, what was that, a Wednesday, it wasn't open as late as it said it was going to be open.
Dang.
So we just went to Blake's Lottaburger, which is kind of like a Whataburger. It's a regional, very specific.
Oh, I'm very
Yeah, I like it. It's
regional to
good.
there, yeah.
It's good. We found one, and there was a street person sort of giving us some dinner show in the window, just
Wow.
walking back and forth. Clearly, he was not allowed to come in. And
Ranting and raving into
right.
the sky.
He did not hassle us, though.
Oh,
So, which is good.
yeah.
And then we went to a couple of breweries. We went to Tractor, and we went to
La Cumbre?
La Cumbre, yeah, and maybe one other. Memory's blurred here. And it was, like you get there, and things are starting to close at 9 o'clock.
Absolutely,
part of the
sure.
world,
On a
so-
Wednesday, sure. They're starting to close around here at 9 o'clock.
Of course. So we didn't want to. We wanted to pick places that we had a reasonable opportunity to enjoy it, and not just pound a beer.
To say we did it and get out.
Because there's no reason. And for my money, La Cumbre, we could have stayed there the whole time. But you're there, and you're like, I'm not here specifically, so let's try to enjoy some more things. We got up the next day, and then we that's when we decided to make it a 3-day trip instead of 2.
Oh boy.
And then
Cool.
it's just a question of where you want to stay, and you can either have a good breakfast, a good lunch, or a good dinner. Not usually all three. If you want to enjoy maybe a beer at night, right? Because again, you're up against the 9 or 10 o'clock as you get later in the week. Things stay open a little later, so you're gonna make some decisions. Being New Mexico, we decided to have breakfast, and that's when we decided to pare back. We ended up going to Wichita, Kansas.
Huh. I haven't taken that route.
Yeah, so at Albuquerque, or 45 minutes thereabout, you have to decide whether you're going to continue to go south across Oklahoma through Oklahoma City,
And up through
like
Illinois.
St. Louis, and then the entirety of Illinois. This way, if you go across Kansas and Iowa, you can avoid Illinois and go through the
Wait, Iowa
south.
is different from Illinois?
It is.
Huh.
It is.
Okay. I thought it was the same thing.
They also have 100 counties.
Them's jokes.
So we stayed in Wichita, and actually the drive between as soon as you leave Albuquerque and the state of New Mexico, it gets pretty same, just flat, dry, beige, with some oil wells through most of that. And there's supposed to be cattle. That's supposed to be like where cattle outnumbers human beings, and there was a little bit of that. There was actually an outlook somewhere in Texas, I think, or maybe it was New Mexico, where you're up on a hill, one of the few hills, that part of the drive, and you can oversee like all these cattle. Well, we didn't pull over. We could just kind of cram.
Did you see the Cadillacs buried on their noses?
No, we did not. We didn't do any of those kinds of sightseeing things. We missed the.
You didn't go to Amarillo then?
No, I didn't.
Ah,
I went to Dallas. We
shoot.
cut through because that would have made it an extra 3 hours from.
Oh God, never mind. Extra 3 hours. I'd do anything to avoid that.
No, I'm just saying we would have had to do that. We would have had to stay in Amarillo the first night, which would have been an 11 or 12-hour day.
Yeah.
And then we're a little bit further south than we wanted to be anyway. Don't get me wrong. Like, Wichita has a good song. Amarillo has a couple good songs. As you're entering, you can adjust your soundtrack. Anyway, we stayed in Wichita, and
Local flavor.
it's one of those towns like, oh, there's plenty of bars and restaurants and food. I just don't know what else you do there because we didn't have time to look into it. I guess you can, the various Western gangs like the Dalton Brothers or the.
What you're
Jesse
saying is you didn't
James.
hit any museums.
We did not hit any museum.
Okay. I mean,
but it's a
most people
town.
might think, huh. And what I say is that's very unusual for Rob.
No, I do those kinds of things.
I know. That's what I appreciate about traveling with you is we go do those things that I
Yeah.
really never would do by myself.
It's different it's a different dynamic when we're trying to, we're trying
You
to
were
get
on a
somewhere.
mission in a way, yeah.
Sure. And so Wichita is a well-built city with places you can walk to, bars and restaurants, breweries. The notable one that I would say to me was Central Standard. They had a wonderful West Coast Pilsner, and it was a New Zealand hop. So to me, it was pretty delightful for a first beer after the road. And then I had some sort of Fooder sour. I sent it to you. It's like it was supposed to be a saison, but it was by no means it was a saison at all. It was just a nice tart, light style. It was good. They had a nice patio. It was trivia night for Wichita, Kansas. That girl swore a lot for trivia.
I let one roll here and there, but no, I
Oh,
also
yeah.
know I have children in the room.
Oh, there's children. There was children. So
Sure, I mean,
This is
I
a-
still
you hear-
swear when the children are
You
there.
hear that Kansas is very conservative, right?
Yeah.
In general. So yeah. It was,
I mean, politically, but that doesn't necessarily mean
just saying.
socially. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. These days, you can't do anything about considering the children, right? So, that that set us up to be able to go to Kansas City for lunch. Right. So,
Lovely.
so we found Arthur Bryant's, which is one of the progenitor of barbecue, of Kansas City style barbecue. I guess was a name somebody named Perry, and that restaurant no longer exists. It forked off into Arthur Bryant's, and the other one I can't remember because I didn't go to it. So I chose Arthur Bryant's. You know, it's a walk up, and you order, you know, sandwiches or meats by the pound and 2 sides, right? Pretty much what you
Yep.
see here. And I don't know. Someone's gonna say, "Well, it's not true Kansas City, you know, dry rub and all." I was like, I didn't care. It was delicious. It was delicious.
Who's going to
And-
say that to you?
Nobody, because I don't know. Online they would say it, right?
Okay.
So we had, you know, just a tray full of meat and just heavy carb, sugary substances. So we decided to also go to Boulevard and have a few beers at Boulevard. And it's just a ginormous public area space. We didn't do the tours, but you can imagine.
Oh,
it's a
I'm
vast
so
campus.
jealous. I would love
And-
to go to Boulevard someday.
Yeah, you know, well, here's the thing. I didn't check the box. I went there, but in terms of like counting it as like I would go back, and I would say specifically like, yeah, I got to go there. I was only there for a little bit, and I thought for sure that was a recipe for just outrageous gas in the car, and it never happened. It never happened. And my brother has what is it, IBS? Like it's like he wears his IBS outside his body. That's how bad it is.
Bonnie took a trip from here, helping a friend move, to Chicago. And it is the legendary story of gas. And it rained
wheels.
the whole time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
Steamy
yeah.
windows and
You can only imagine. It was, there was just so much laughter. Like, oh my God, what are we doing? Anyway, sorry.
yeah. So we were able to make it to Des Moines for the evening. And
So
I'd been-
Kansas City for lunch, Des Moines for
yeah, and
evening.
so you know I ran into Kelsey, who's the
Yeah.
the Iowa Brewers Guild. Jay was out of town, and the current director of the Brewers Guild in Iowa, who has the very heavy Iowa.
Maureen.
Is that her name?
Noreen.
Noreen.
Thank you.
With an N.
With an N. Noreen.
She was not available.
She is a genius, though.
She is.
Oh my God.
very good.
She is so smart.
She's probably smart that she didn't go out with us. We probably would have kept her out late.
Yeah, she has kids
Yeah.
in school in the morning.
So we went to Confluence, which I talked about before as being walking in a brewery and saying, these guys have their shit together, and then they go and win a bunch of World Cup medals. Like, they never thanked me, and I didn't press it.
For you.
Going in there and then being their good luck. charm.
Blessing them.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
I didn't-
Well, maybe next time. Maybe next time.
I missed a smoked beer. It was coming out. It's probably coming. It's out this week. I was too early for their smoked beer, their Rauch beer. We went to El Bait Shop, which adorns the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild sign, because the owner, Jeff Bruno, meets out here once in a while. When he has spring training baseball, we usually talk industry stuff. Haven't seen him this year though. And I just texted him, hey, back, just driving through, just thought you'd get a warm fuzzy if I posted this picture. And he's like, but like they have a side to that other place. He owns like 7 or 8 concepts in Des Moines, which is literally the entire city. But next door, it's the High Life Lounge, and it's kind of a dive bar atmosphere. So we spent the evening.
The High Life Lounge.
Yeah. So you remember the Silver Key?
Yes.
Very similar.
Cool.
Very similar. And you know,
Maybe they don't.
Silver Key Lounge in Las Vegas has a very wood panel, old school dive bar, look to it.
Got the
But wonderful.
got the silvery red upholstered bar stools.
Yeah.
It's a requirement. Wood legs, silvery red, giant pad to sit on.
Right, right. You know, and yeah, we just stayed on that side. They have a few craft beers. They have, you know, Ham's, Greenbelt, PBR also. But, you know, El Bait Shop, I think, has 150 taps. And,
Right, I've heard of this. Yeah,
And according to Jeff, like they
turn them.
turn them. So I'm not going to doubt him. That seems to be the game in town there. But he also has a concept that does all Iowa beers. He has an English style pub. Anyway, and it was just an easier drive from Des Moines to Milwaukee. But we stopped where my dad went to college to take a picture of Drake University. And then my uncle, who passed away when I was young, went to Grinnell, which is about 45 minutes away. So we felt like we had to take that same picture at Grinnell. And
Sorry, Grinnell.
Grinnell, Grinell.
Okay.
I think on now they do okay in the tournament, but you know, basketball.
Oh,
But they're a small academic private college
sure.
in Iowa. And we met up with Mark. We met him in Fitchburg, which is a suburb of Madison. We built in an hour to spend with him. We talked a little business and
A little life.
had beers. It was the Hop House in Fitchburg. Very large brewery. One of the first to expand in Madison. So, and they do THC beverages like nobody's business, apparently. Did not have one of those, obviously. And then we hightailed it to the airport, and I had maybe an extra 45 minutes, so I bought some Polish sausage at Ray's
You
Butcher.
left Madison?
I had to go get on a plane in Milwaukee, like literally that day. So I woke up in Des Moines having to catch a flight in Milwaukee. So yeah, it was what I do, like
Yeah.
down to the last
Wow.
hurrah.
Cool.
Sorry that took so long. It took longer to explain my trip than it did to take the trip.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, so that many days.
People live vicariously through your beer trips, bud. Don't worry about it.
The longest
Like
day
me.
was 8 hours. The shortest day was 5 hours. And if they would put some goddamn towns on the other side of Albuquerque, then it would be much more enjoyable. But then you'd probably have to leave Albuquerque. So I don't know. You could go up through Santa Fe. You could. There's another Kansas route. I don't know what that does for you. Every one of those towns is. There was a little bit of two-lane. My brother had both of those legs. I had to laugh about that. You got to
Getting
pass
stuck.
people, getting stuck behind trucks and stuff. But that part of Texas and Oklahoma, it's like every town looks the same. 2 diners, a gas station.
Post office, bro.
Yeah.
Don't forget the post
Yeah.
office.
And
Cool.
yeah,
Great.
you had a final thing that you wanted to talk about, right? No, that was it.
Our
Oh, our upcoming trip.
upcoming trip.
Yeah,
We're heading off to Craft Brewers Conference.
yeah.
And
I keep getting texts from the Tranquil Oasis, which is the name of our Airbnb. Tranquil.
I'm only getting emails,
Yeah.
but yeah. Tranquil Oasis would like us to come in a day early.
Yeah, no.
If you'd like to come in a day early, just let us know.
Yeah.
We have space.
We're getting in there on Sunday.
True.
It gives us a
Flight lands about 3:30.
a little bit of free time.
Sunday evening to get settled in, go to the grocery store. That was what I woke up with on my mind this morning is, okay, I have to get my ginger kombucha. I have to get some cheese. I have to get some crackers. We need, I have to buy a knife because I don't have a knife. Maybe I'll just get one on the conference floor. That's fine.
Like a pocket knife.
Yeah.
Just look for a freebie.
Yeah.
Box cutter.
Yeah.
What do you need the knife for?
It's a tool that I always have on me, and to not have it is uncomfortable.
Oh, I see. We were on this thread about Elks Lodges, which I didn't get to go on any Elks.
Dang.
It's too hard to schedule because they're only very specifically open And anyway, Ken was talking about when he went to Indiana recently. They had a gun raffle at their Elks. He's like, what happens if I win this? I'm like, just hide it somewhere, because we're coming and we might need a gun, and
Put it in the mail.
just
Can you mail guns?
I don't know, probably.
I don't know.
I said we should.
I just
we should
buy them. I
go
don't
to
have to
gun
mail
raffles
them.
in every state and win guns, and then hide them. For the apocalypse.
This is in Indiana or in Illinois?
Indiana.
Oh,
Indiana is very red.
yeah, but Illinois,
It's very blue.
you can't buy guns in Chicago, but is that county? I don't think it's a whole state. I mean, Illinois is a very rural state when you get south of Chicago.
Yeah, it is. Just Cook County? I don't know. I have no idea.
All right, fair enough.
I was
Here's
just-
something
I was just making up an
neither
interest-
of us know.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
just completely don't need a gun in any state. I have no gun needs right now.
I have no additional gun needs. That's true.
So,
I mean, do they have an ammo raffle? I'll take some ammo.
so they we're gonna be there through Thursday, Wednesday, Friday.
We arrive on Sunday at 3:30, and we depart on Friday at 5:15-ish.
I know, and there's like
And we get
events-
home at 6:45, so it's not, of course, it's the time changes that really burn us, because Indianapolis is in central, is not in central, it's on the eastern time zone, and I messed all my calendar up.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see what happens when I get over there, because it'll all shift. And I think I tried to put it in as the right time zone, but we'll see.
So Craft Brewers Conference, it's not the first time we've gone, it's not the first time we've talked about it on the podcast,
Right.
but it is a gathering for a trade show, many seminars, keynote speakers, new executive director or president?
Directors.
No, of the
Wisconsin.
BA. Of the BA.
The Brewers Association.
What is Bart's title?
CEO?
CEO, new CEO, Bart Watson, one of my favorite humans in the world. Such a big brain, such a nice, great dude. I hope with everything
that
in my
absolute
soul
power doesn't change
that
him.
he is not screwed, and he's under
that's
so much stress that he's just like, ah. I mean, I know he's smarter than just to be, but that's a totally different job from what he was doing. I mean, I have total faith he can handle it, but wow,
Right.
that's a huge transition.
Yeah, I agree.
So we get to go to all the things. We get to
But
see our friend.
there are some new executive directors. and
Absolutely,
others.
yeah. So,
And so it's networking too.
it's
and
my first time as the executive director
Oh, it
of
is?
the Arizona Craft
Oh,
Brewers
wow.
Guild at Craft Brewers Conference.
How is that going to change you?
My God, man, it's gonna be wild, wild.
I'm gonna wait for you to say something in a meeting. I'm gonna go. He's doing it. He would never have said that in his other capacity. Yes, he would have. Yeah. All right. How could this dog, by the way,
Indiana.
this dog, by the way, if you act now or soon, this dog could be yours. We're just looking for a home.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Rob, because if my wife watches this, we are bringing this dog home.
No, you're banned.
Oh, she's
You
so
can't have that many dogs.
strong. Oh, she's so sweet.
Yeah. I'll post some pictures.
Oh, what a baby.
Anyway,
Ken Wilson grew up in Indiana.
right. He wants us to go to Behringer's, which is on the outskirts.
We have some things that we are committed to reliving.
Of course, I did that and it killed the camera. Too hot.
Oh man. Well, we are committed to taking some adventure, or at least an adventure with Ken.
Yeah.
Ken. We do have many industry events set up for the evenings and afternoons.
We do. And
I have to go pay homage to M. Souter from Pints and Panels, since I use her drawings every week in my beer education moment of the trivia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm just using this camera as the main camera.
I have a regular who's like, she has some other new stuff that went out this week. I'm like, okay. Some of it isn't necessarily relevant, but yeah. He is a big fan of M. So when I told him that I met her, he's like, what? Really?
You should get something autographed
Yeah, I
and
should.
make it the prize.
Say, hey, Lucas,
Oh,
this is for you, bud.
All right. Well, with that camera going out, I think we should probably close this edition.
Yeah. All right.
And leave some
sounds
things
good.
on the table.
What are you most looking forward to in Indiana?
I am going to do the thing that I always say I'm going to do. I'm going to spend more time reaching out to the media and trying to make our argument for Arizona to be the CBC, although, that's looking less and less desirable these days. I'm going to do that mostly. And I'm going to appreciate the time that I'm with my colleagues, probably more so than in the past. Because this might be the last one. I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you right now, in Vegas, I did not do the evening events, mainly because I just really don't like Vegas, but I also had work to do. I think that this time I'm going to also get to spend more quality time with our colleagues rather than just holing up in my hotel room.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
This is not a beer podcast.
It's a dog podcast.
It is.
Yay.
It's a nugget pack podcast.
Hello, baby. He is a sweetie.
All right. Cheers.
Yeah. Hey, thanks.